we learn together, it's through reading a book or doing a seminar series or having a speaker come. The Lilly Foundation has given us a grant to figure out how to learn from, with, and in community, recognizing that the wisdom in our communities is not all in the church building, and we have to get up out of our seats, get our noses out of our books, and go out and be with people and learn in that way.
The Thriving Congregations Initiative is a grant program that Lilly sponsors for judicatories and other large organizations who work with congregations to explore, how do congregations thrive? How does one go from kind of the mainline experience, which is not always thriving, to something that is maybe different and transformative?
One of the first things that we decided when we received this award was, we're not doing this alone. We're going to do it with our partners in Colombia.
So as we shared that with the community in Colombia, they said, well, we want to do that too. That aligns really well with our philosophy of ministry.
El hecho de poder compartir nuestras experiencias de vida nos ha llevado incluso a incluir dentro de nuestros planes como presbiterio iniciativas que son de ustedes o que las han gestado ustedes, formas de trabajar que las hemos asumido porque el acompañamiento ha sido sincero y ha sido muy, muy profundo.
The Lilly money could not be used for the partnership with Presbytery in Barranquilla, but we basically just took whatever we were doing here and made sure that we were sharing that with them, which also really informed how we started to think about thriving here. Thriving's not just for the congregation, it's for the community. And which then forces a question, which is, how is the congregation viewed within its own community, and how is that congregation even connected? How can these be true relationships and not just the church kind of doing mission to the community?
Jesus never called the world to the church, called the church to the world. And public theologians are always looking for those places of intersection of how do the people who gather together to worship go forth and live faith in our daily lives, in the public square, in our family lives, in our schools, that it doesn't stop at the doors of the church, but this is an equipping place that sends us forth.
Another opportunity came up to go to Colombia, and it was then kind of understanding the idea of it. It was really exciting to be able to be a part of it and to go to Colombia and learn from them, and then hopefully bring that back and teach the congregation about the partnership, about changing the idea of mission.
Being with these dear friends in Barranquilla helped me see it lived out and be more courageous. Every time I go to Barranquilla, I come back with more confidence of how we're called to live for the world and in the world, and courageously learning people's stories around us.
It's really about embracing culture and learning from different cultures, and how we can better ministry here by experiencing how their culture actually elevates what ministry is, right? So if we could bring that into our context, oh my gosh.
We wouldn't be the frozen chosen anymore.
Yeah.
We were a little more like our Colombian friend. It helps so much that we have this shared framework of being Presbyterian. We share this commitment to the Reformed tradition, and it's kind of fun to see the way that materializes in different contexts too. Their worship looks different from our worship, but we're all united kind of under the same big tent.
There's so many things that would change the fabric of how we do church here if we were to embrace some of it.
One of the things that we are learning together is, and that we're really learning from our friends in Colombia, is that our leadership teams are not called to simply pass motions and make decisions and allocate money. They're really called to be reflective, deliberative communities where the Holy Spirit is at work. And
what we're learning is that there are some cultural differences that make us in primarily white institutions in the United States have more trouble with that shift between, are we here to get stuff done, or are we just here to chit chat or catch up with each other, as if those two things are not interrelated, as if those two things can't happen in the same space. One of my friends said, I got to go to a session meeting with our friends at this particular church in Barranquilla, and he said, the first thing we did at the session meeting was dance. And he was like, these are my people. There are changes that happen when we do certain things with our bodies together. And that's part of why we gather on Sunday mornings and we stand and we sing and we share the bread and the cup, because we know that's part of how we become one body together. What would that look like for us? For our communities, how would we get out of our own way, stop focusing so much on the business of being church, and really lean into the Spirit and what the Spirit is calling us to be and do together? Because we can pass all the motions and balance all the budgets, but if we don't love each other, then we've really missed the point.
It's been cool to see the way that our kind of intentionality around this decolonialized approach with Ninth has impacted the work that we're doing in our neighborhood too. We renamed our mission committee, formerly mission committee. Now it's called the Community Outreach Committee, with a real big focus on partnership and co-learning and mutual transformation.
The average neighbor that walks by may not really know we're here and our story. And more importantly, we may not know our neighbors very well. And part of the Thriving Congregation initiative is that the traditional way of churching, where people come to worship on Sundays, probably isn't the church of the future. The church of the future has more permeable boundaries, physically, emotionally, and socially. How do we become more connected to our neighbors? How do we know more about what's happening in our communities? So Colombia is kind of that, except it's across national boundaries.
If we're able to embrace different cultures into what we have here in the United States, that is going to be the biggest learning and the biggest growth for our churches, throughout generations.
This is really the work of generations to come, right? We can't just measure for what we can do in 3 years, in 4 years. This has to be a longer term partnership, friendship between the churches.
No es, yo siempre lo he dicho, no es una hermandad de dos presbiterios, sino que es una hermandad de hombres y mujeres que están construyendo familia, una familia grande, una familia inmensa.
The Thriving Initiative would not have been the same without that partnership.